What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we've got another spoiler from the Transformers trading card game Wave 4, War for Cybertron Siege, that we need to be having a look at. And this is a card that I kid you not, when I looked at it and read the skill, I went, ooh, this one's a little bit tasty. It is Private Vanguard. It is a Battle Master, and one thing that is exceptionally relevant about this. It's the first time we've ever had an armor Battle Master. Until now, back in War for Cybertron Siege 1, all the Battle Masters turned into weapons. This, ladies and gentlemen, turns into an armor, and we'll get to the armor in a minute. But before we get to the armor, we have got to talk about the, well, I would say bot mode, but it's not really bot mode, it's just Private Vanguard. So Private Vanguard then is a 5 cost, which is on the lower end of Battle Masters generally. Some of them get a fair bit higher than that. And the stats reflect the low star cost. Now attacker free is actually pretty good, to be fair. For a 5 cost that ain't too shabby. But health of 5, defense of 1, not good. Like really not good, ladies and gentlemen. Like terribly good. Wait, no. Other one. Terribly bad. You are not going to stay around for very long at all. Your defense is very, very low, but if your opponent starts dropping cards like Marksmanships or, goodness forbid, Bolt of Lightning, this is a character that is going to go away very, very quickly. I'm going to say a lot of good things about Private Vanguard during this video, I promise you that. I think it is an exceptionally good character, but I do want it right off the bat that this is a very, very weak character. Now, having said that, the counter argument is it's a Battle Master. When it gets KO'd, it goes on as an upgrade anyway, so it might be good being weak. No. I like this much more before it becomes an upgrade. It has a skill that reads, when one of your other characters defends, and you flip at least one white icon, that character cannot take more than 5 attack damage this battle. Now it does say specifically attack damage, so if there is a skill that deals damage as you attack, take for instance Major Prowl, who in bot mode when you attack an enemy that has a weapon do 2 damage to that enemy, that wouldn't be counted here, that would go through as well. But in terms of actual attack damage done when you look at the attack and defense and add up all the orange and blue icons, etc., yeah, limited to 5. And this is going to remind a lot of you of a white icon card, and it should. It is very much like Force Field. Now, Force Field did actually receive a print in Wave 3, but it came around in Wave 1, and if the upgraded character would take 5 or more attack damage, instead scrap this card and the upgraded character takes 4 damage instead. Cool. Now this isn't quite as good. This lets you take 5, whereas Force Field only lets you take 4, but Force Field falls off and this is a static thing, so that's pretty gosh darn good. I mean, if we take something like Major Shockwave, for instance, Major Shockwave is rocking in like, what on boys, I've got 17 health. So if you can keep this on the field, and that is a major if, your opponent is looking at a 4-hit KO on Major Shockwave. That is redonkulous. Now, there are 2 issues with this. The first issue is white icons. You've got to be focusing on white icons. Now, if you're playing a lot of white icons, that means fewer blue, which means lower defense, which will not be an option for as long as Vanguard is on the field. Incidentally, Vanguard doesn't affect himself, but also, if you take 5, you're done anyway, so it doesn't really matter if I'm honest with you. And while I think about it, let's mention Energy Pack here. Whack an Energy Pack on Major Shockwave to give plus 4 health, and all of a sudden 4 hits will put you at 20 damage, you've got 21, and that will be hilarious. Turning into a 5-hit KO. This can really work, but there's a lot of downsides. So to go back to the white icons, you got to play a bunch of white icon cards, and there are a bunch of good ones out there. You can play something like Force Field, for instance. You can get a bit of your own cheeky damage going with Frag Toss, although Frag Toss your opponent chooses a character to take the damage, not you, unfortunately. There's plenty of draw in terms of white icons, looking at stuff like Equipment Enthusiast, for instance. And this is all starting to look quite good, but you will end up with some notable holes. So if you're looking at upgrade removal, then back in Wave 1 we had ramming speed, it had an orange icon. Well then Wave 2 rolled around, and instead of that we got Vaporize, same card, blue icon, but there is no direct equivalent here with a white icon, so you do lose a little bit in that regard, and that's a little bit sad. You have to commit to the white icons. But bearing in mind, you've only got to hit one white icon. So as long as you play enough of them, especially if you're playing tough to flip more icons, you should be alright here. You should be able to deal with that. The other downside is you got 5 health. And look, you can do stuff like attack stealth, or stealthiness, to try and keep it on the field a little bit longer. And you can make sure that it is the last character that gets tapped, so your opponent can't attack it. Except if you go second, your opponent has a free choice of who to attack turn 1. They might well end up going for this one, and dealing 5 damage in some of these bigger, oranger decks, it might not be that difficult. So there are a bunch of difficulties. Plus, even if you don't tap it, even if you try and protect it by leaving it untapped, your opponent can still use cards like the aforementioned marksmanship to take it out. As a side note, it is a ranged character itself, so you can be using stuff like armed hovercraft and marksmanship yourself here to get that cheeky damage rolling, if you so wish. But then it gets KO'd, and remember it's a Battle Master here, so instead of going to the KO pile immediately, it becomes an upgrade. However, if the upgrade is removed in any way, then it ends up in the KO area. And it gives you +2 defense, which is very high for an armor. And when you put it on a character, you deal 1 damage to a tapped enemy. Okay, it's no armed hovercraft, it's 1 damage to 1 enemy and they have to be tapped, it's not perfect. Incidentally, the effect here is exactly the same as the card Frag Toss, deal 1 damage to a tapped enemy. So we have seen this before. It's fine, but it's underwhelming. I mean, Frag Toss, you play for the black icon. If you're not worried about the black icon, Frag Toss is just worse than Zap. So there is that to consider. But the good news is here that that's not all it actually does. Because firstly, you get the +2 defense as previously mentioned. But I'll be honest with you, that is actually it. But +2 defense and 1 damage to a tapped enemy is pretty good. I don't think this is phenomenal when it becomes an upgrade. And look, I've said already, the +2 defense is pretty good. +2 defense is higher than we would usually get on an upgrade. I mean, Blast Shield gives you +2 defense, but Blast Shield falls off at the end of the turn. So we do like the +2 defense, and we do like that you get a cheeky rock toss in there as well. As an upgrade, it's fine, but I don't think it's phenomenal as an upgrade. You know, when I look at some of the other upgrades around that we were playing around with back in Wave 3, you know, we've got Lionizer here that turns into RS Fire Steel Saber, which goes ahead and gives your character Bold 4 and Plan 1. I mean, Bold 4, right, is what you get with Superior Cannon, except Superior Cannon can only be played after you've played a tech research, and this also gives you Plan 1 on top of that. This is a phenomenal upgrade. I don't mind this as an upgrade, but it's not particularly good, is my point. But I adore it as a bot. As a bot, I think it's wonderful. As a side note, with it being a Battle Master, you can play Quartermaster here. And I actually adore Quartermaster when you're playing it with Vanguard. Couple of reasons. Firstly, you've got the white icon you need to activate your bot mode ability. Secondly, it allows you to recover a Battle Master from the discard pile. Or from the KO area, because they go to the KO area, not to the discard pile. And Quartermaster here will get this back quite nicely. And okay, I don't think it's quite as headline grabbing as an upgrade as some of the other Battle Masters are, but it still does nothing after it gets removed, and dropping something like a Vaporize or a Ramming Speed will remove it. So in that regard, I'm fine with it. I love this in bot mode. I am genuinely worried that it's too weak, and you have to kind of plan for this, and you have to play the white. And I'm worried that if you do plan for it and it's too much of your plan, your opponent will be able to take it out far too easily, and that does make me kind of worried. But I think this is got to be one. If you've got 5 stars left over, this has got to be one you're going to be playing around with. It is at the very least worth a test, and I think probably a bit more than that. But I would like to know what you think about this, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where we talk about Transformers and whatever other games take our fancy. And do please consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio if you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that fun stuff. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross and you've been watching Wossy Plays.